It's a Saturday. It's October 25th, and we've got rain for part of the weekend. Well, today it's raining in parts of California, certainly Northern California and Marin County. We're seeing rainfall accumulations north of Cape Mendocino already up over an inch and a half, 2 inches. This is we won't say AR, but it's a storm that has a lot of moisture. That's our new for atmospheric weather. We're just going to go storm with a lot of moisture tap. Okay, because otherwise you get into because there's everything's an AR in some ways. There's some component of it. So, but it's facing and projecting mainly into the Pacific Northwest, where they are expecting some areas I saw in the Olympic range, like over 6 inches of rain over a few days. So right now we've got temperatures that are mild, snow levels are high, wind advisories, surf advisories along the coast. Again, most of the activity is north of San Francisco. This is Oak Grove. Is it Oak Grove? Walnut Grove. And this is up in the Delta. And I like this shot because it shows, you can kind of see the system coming in. Actually, I just did 12 hours, but you can see the clouds coming in. This is looking towards the west, kind of towards Mount Diablo. And you see the clouds thickening up. This is this morning, well before you or I got up. There's the raindrops. There's Mount Diablo. And then boom, boom, boom. So right, it's a kind of a zonal flow. The dynamics are weak, other than there's a ton of moisture in the atmosphere. This is the top of Palisades, Tahoe. And we're looking at snow level, right? So we're up over, well over 7,000 feet up by the tram, and you're seeing it's raining, right? So snow levels are going to be pretty high. That's a characteristic of these weather systems that have a lot of subtropical moisture, right? And you noticed it last night. You noticed it today. It's warm. Temperatures today are going to be in the low 60s, mid 60s in Central California and Northern California. You can see it's a little bit windy up there as well. Let's see what else we can get pick up another camera. That's Siberia camera. That's kind of rained in. This is down the hill a little bit, down towards the valley. And I love this camera. So not quite as, strong that it is, because with that last picture we were looking at was up here. And that's sort of getting some of the orographic component, right? Because this moisture field, as it comes in, really reacts to the coastal range, hence the over a couple inches of rain in far northern coastal range mountains, and then the rain we just saw up on Siberia, because you're kind of up high and you're facing west. This bowl is kind of facing east. There's scattered showers, but most of it's falling out on the west slope, but you can see the showers coming down. So this is out of Medford, the Weather Service, and these are some of the forecast rain totals for the storm system through Sunday night. So, like 3 inches of rain, inch and a half, and really you see how abundant the moisture is on the west side of town, on the west side of the continent, out in the coastal ranges, out in the in the hilly areas of Trinity Alps. That's a symptom of subtropical moisture. Strong dynamics, not necessarily. There are some stronger dynamics up north, but in terms of just orographic lifting, and you'll see less rain as you get into the valleys, and then more rain again as you get up and towards Crater Lake, over 3 inches of rain. And these are some of the watches and warnings. Now this is further north, like Klamath Falls, Crescent City, Brookings. Those areas have storm warnings along the coast for strong winds. These are wind advisories all in this area. So very windy up in the Pacific Northwest and Northern California. This is out of Sacramento. These are the Bay Area watches and warnings, and you can see the wind event here. A lot of wind through Reno, Lake Tahoe, all the way south down towards Bishop. And then again, high surf advisory along the coast here. And let's go a little further south. I'm just pulling up the Weather Service sites. And then this is Bay Area, right? So we already went there. Let's see, we go one more. I think it goes LA. Yeah, so LA, south of Point Conception, things mellow out a little bit. And it's on. So this is the system as it looks on the satellite. This is an infrared satellite. We'll look at the visible satellite in a minute. And you can pick out a couple things. First thing I notice is, first thing you notice all this. That's a low, a vorticity maximum. That's a vorticity maximum. There's something there. There's something there. So in this complex, there's 4 or 5, at least 4 in this whole complex low is a series of disturbances. So that's really a juicy one right there. That's one we were looking at yesterday. And it's moving well north of the Bay Area. You can see the line on this system. The jet stream is dipping south. That's why it's raining a little bit in San Francisco right now, raining a little bit in Sacramento, raining up in Lake Tahoe, but most of the activity on this line. And we'll see how the model depicts that. But that's pretty much the wet dry line, pretty much Bay Area north, wet. When I say Bay Area, let's say Golden Gate Bridge north, wet, and Bay Area south, or Golden Gate Bridge south. A few scattered showers, kind of nuisance showers is how it looks right now. Okay, so let's push into the rainfall from today. This is, I think I'm using California Nevada River Forecast Center. These are the last 24 hours of rainfall. And that's a lot of rain. That's a lot of rain, over an inch and almost 2 inches up in Crescent City. And then you see the coastal ranges. This is the Bay Area just getting into the rain now in the last a couple hours. And so you're already seeing Mount Tamalpais at almost an inch of rain. That thing is right? It's a magnet for rainfall. And a lot of that has to do with the way, see how the coastline kind of faces south a little bit? That's sort of south, right? This is south essentially. But the coastline faces this way. Well, when the storm comes in, it brings in a south wind and it bumps head on into the Marin Headlands. And it's the classic orographic event. That's why Muir Woods, and a lot of vegetation is there, but Muir Woods is in this area because it's the perfect place to get immense amounts of rain and fog capture because redwoods rely on rain, but they really rely on the fog drip all summer during the Mediterranean dry summer. And the fog drip is prolific, like in tens and hundreds of gallons the trees can make on their own a year just by the moisture clinging to their pine needles. The way they're shaped is kind of awesome. Okay, so that's right now. You're seeing the showers about as far south as San Francisco, 0.06, and then it kind of dies off, right? So we're really, and I'll pull the way out and you can see the whole enchilada, right? So it's really just starting to happen now, the showers. And this is how it's going to go. You'll see the model, but this is how it's going to go through the day, through the night tonight and into tomorrow. And these rain totals up north are going to be aggressive. Rain totals south down in these lesser dynamic areas are going to be so-so. Southern California, you guys, you're noticing it because you're getting an increased inversion. That's what that fog is. And the inversion is being lifted because it's proximity to these low. So the fog's pushing further inland. So it's going to be a slow burn today. Yeah, there'll be some sun. You're already seeing some sun out by Santa Barbara. And then what else can I point out? That's kind of it. And then this is the real zone of activity. And again, remember I always talk about texture. See the texture on these clouds? See the bumps? It's a visible satellite. You can pick it out on infrared too, but texture is always a really good indication of vertical development. And you notice how it's happening kind of right on the coastal range, right? Because you're getting orographically lifted. Plus, there are dynamics here. This is closer to the low. All right, so let's head on into what we got next for you. We got the forecast highs for today. These are surprisingly warm. I got Monterey at 64, Los Angeles at 74, San Diego at 66, Sonora at 64, Reno at 47 for a high. Windy up there, you guys. Lake Tahoe, windy, pretty windy. Windy in Winnemucca, Alturas, but kind of mild. And that is, you look at that and you go, whoa, it's raining in Guerneville at 65 degrees. Yeah, we used to call it a pineapple connection. That's what that is. That's that more moist air getting driven in. It doesn't have a lot of cold air at our latitude, so a lot of cold air support at our latitude. So you're seeing rain at the top of Palisades and temperatures in the rain zone in the mid 60s. And warmer, this is like a no duh for you guys, you know this, but right, colder air holds less water, warmer air holds more water. So when you got a warmer air mass like 65 degrees in Guerneville, you've got an air mass that's holding more water, and that's why it's just when it hits the coastal hills and gets orographically, mechanically lifted, right? A lot of times low pressures lift and create instability. There's other ways to get instability, but that's the typical, the low pressure from the jet stream or aloft creates low pressure at the surface, or you get a topographic feature to mechanically, right, just bump that, hits the air, hits it, pushes it up higher, condenses rains. That's why we saw rain on Siberia. Remember, saw rain up there. That's what that was to a small extent. And then we went to the east side of Siberia, and you saw very little rain in the chairlift down by the lodge. I think that makes sense. Okay, so here is the HRRR. This is short range. If I were you, this is what I would do. I would use the HRRR in conjunction with a radar. So I would go like this. This is my radar. Let's go up here and find these are all these different radar locations I have access to, which are awesome. So the main rain band's up there. We're up at the Eureka radar now. So I look at that and I go, okay, that makes sense. Let's go down to San Francisco radar, the MUX. Or let's use DAX out of Davis. Let's just see what MUX looks like. So it's really barely picking up anything, isn't it? So you can kind of see, right, that's the southern end of it. But this is radar is what's happening now. And then if you go, okay, that's what's happening now, and we look at what's happening now, and that sort of matches up with what we just saw, right? Not exactly, because it's a model. This is the modeled off the weather balloons in the morning and in the evening. And this model is just rapid update model. It's constantly updating, so every hour. So we go, okay, yeah, the rain's in the area. That makes sense. And this is projecting how it's going to look. And again, look at the oranges up north. That's where the dynamics are, most definitely. And that's that area of texture we were looking at too. So that's this morning, about now. And then that's what we see right about now, right? This is coming into mid-morning, early afternoon. And then where are we at? Let's get right to the afternoon. I'm better when I can see. Okay, 23Z. So it kind of pulls out. That's this afternoon, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, right? So that's it. Now you're going to see scattered showers in these zones. The heavier rain associated is up here closer to the dynamics. And then that's tonight and into tomorrow morning. And you see, again, a plug of moisture coming into Cape Mendocino into Sunday morning. Okay, so first of all, you're going, yeah, I'm not changing my plans. I live in San Jose, not changing my plans. I live in San Francisco, paying attention and being aware of some scattered showers, which are occurring now. But if I'm south down towards Pismo Beach or King City or Salinas, I'm like, whatever, it's game on for my weekend, right? Southern California, same thing. You just need a sweater. So here comes the system. And again, this thing's we're trying not to use the atmospheric river thing. I'm just trying to differentiate. An atmospheric river is just a storm that has a lot of subtropical moisture with it. That's all it is. And so this one is a storm that has a lot of subtropical moisture getting entrained, which many of our storms do this time of year. It's just a function of how much moisture is entrained. It's subjective. And that's what's happening in the Pacific Northwest. So they're really talking about it a lot because if you're getting some areas, like I said, 3, 4, 5, 6 inches of rain forecast up towards Seattle and Oregon, that's some stuff, right? But for us, we're kind of in this, not no man's land, but no man's land. So here it is at 10 a.m. this morning. And here it is what time is this? This is this afternoon, Saturday afternoon. You can see the lines, that's the wind. But right, all right. So it's just, again, this pretty much online with what we talked about. And then you get another secondary wave comes through Sunday morning around 10 a.m. And then, right? And again, most of the activity is up in here. And then long range down the road, the winds go north. That's a northeast wind on Monday afternoon. Big wind. Look at that. See how those railroad tracks are? That's a real cool advection wind too. Okay, if you can bear with me on this. See the black lines, those are isobars. On your topographic map, it just tells you the differences between the pressure gradient, the pressure. So they get close together, it means it's a steep pressure gradient, it means it's windy. And then you look at these dash lines, which we have focused on a little bit, which are super useful but scary. The dash lines are thicknesses. So this is the 5550 meters thickness. That's the height of the 500 millibar level at this location. If you go down here, you see it's higher, a thicker air mass. That's warmer. It's further south. These air masses down here, you don't even have to look at the number. All these down here are warmer as you go south. Thicknesses. Air is warmer as you go towards the equator. So what's happening when I look at this is, first thing I see is I go, ooh, winds are blowing out of this with this high kind of building. You're kind of getting a wind like this. So that's taking these thickness lines and advecting them south. It's a cooling trend. So going to be significant cooling out here in the basin as we get into Monday and Tuesday of next week. So that's kind of it's just an illustration of what we can do with the thickness lines. You're like, dude, seriously, it's Saturday. What are you doing, right? I know, but I think, again, this stuff is really complex, but the things we do here, this pattern that we follow, you start to see, and then you'll start connecting the dots yourself, which is better than me connecting the dots, because I don't know where you live. I don't, but you can. And that's crucial. So this is a map I'm sort of enjoying right now for this pattern. It's an accumulation map over just total, not 24-hour accumulation, not 12, but just for the whole course of the next 6 or 7 days. And it just shows you the rain, where it's going to be wet, where it's not going to be wet. So here we are this afternoon. So right now, that's your day. If you're right, Marin County, I mean, they clearly missed the Mount Tam thing, but I think it's calling more for Mill Valley, San Rafael, because Mount Tam's already at almost an inch of rain. But that's the footprint, if you will. And then we go into, you see it, look in the north there up. This is Sunday night, Monday morning. Some significant rainfall, but look at the wet dry line. This is very useful map. And then as we get into the following Friday, right? So really, I mean, and I'm all the way into, and look at all this activity in the Pacific Northwest. And that's the November 10th. That's over a week away. But that's where the rain is expected to fall. So you guys who are throwing out concrete, framing buildings, painting, doing real stuff instead of not talking about weather. I mean, I'm just joking. But I used to be a construction guy. I wasn't good. I used to do job site work. I'd hang out on job sites when I was in graduate school, and I'd get work paid me under the table. It's awesome. I think, truthfully, yours truly, I never saw anybody do this before, but I was out standing by the dumpsters, not at Home Depot. I wasn't that clever, but I was 1987. I was standing out in Pacific Heights in San Francisco, and they were remodeling all those Victorians. So I would just wait out front by the dumpsters. And in the morning, the crew would show up, and I go, listen, I'll give you labor. Back then I was making $10 an hour under the table, and they'd work my A off. They would work my ass. But I found it really enjoyable, actually. I don't know why. I really enjoyed it. I like labor. But anyway, so I speak to you guys a lot because I know you're pouring concrete especially or painting. But that's the footprint. If you're up in Oregon, right, you're in Washington, Northern California, you're going to be pretty wet. But everybody south, you guys look okay. Okay, we did it. There's San Francisco's Ocean Beach, just a little bit damp. Surf's was big yesterday, not so big today. Surf tomorrow, next few days is going to be kind of big and unruly because you got these wind advisories, gale warnings along the coast, high surf advisories. So the wind, even if it's not windy and gale warning at Ocean Beach, the wind out in the Pacific is blowing, and so it creates a jumbled ocean, right? So even if it's 150 miles away, up in 200-300 miles away at Crescent City, the ocean gets confused and jammed up, and that's what you're seeing. It's a stormy sea. Even the winds look like they're southeast here. Let's see if they are. I don't know if they are. Oh no, what is that? No, is that observed? Yeah, west southwest. I thought they might be. They must have a little southeast in it because I was looking at the back spray off the lips. But south winds is typically what you expect. So west southwest would make sense too with the weather system. But that's San Francisco. This is Zuma Beach. It's the weekend. Folks out enjoying themselves, and you can see the cloud cover down there. We showed you the cloud cover earlier. Fun place to surf. Nice people. Surfing's gotten so much. I always talk about this with friends, but when I was starting surfing, it was so aggressive. It was coming out of the 70s and early 80s, and it was weird. I liked it just because it was, very local. And then we went through a whole transition phase where new people, it was really about the surf schools, started teaching nice people how to surf. Because before that, it was cops, firemen, guys like me, kids in school, sometimes we were a little ne'er-do-well. Yeah, sometimes we were. And because we just lived in the ocean, and we were very territorial. I wasn't so much, but I bumped into a lot of it between here and Santa Cruz. I used to surf. I'd go by myself. I think I told you guys this. I would surf by myself in Santa Cruz, like in 4 Mile, And so I can't name all the places because every time I name places, people get mad at me. But anywhere south of San Francisco, I would surf, and I'd go alone. So I rolled with a lot of dudes like Vince Collier and those guys. I didn't hang with them, but they tolerated me. Vince and Kevin Reed and all those guys. And I would show up, and there'd be two guys in the water like here, and they would eyeball you anyway, even though there's just two guys in the water. And it was just sort of it was a time. But now people are so nice and sweet and thoughtful and kind, and it's been, and that's all recent. That's all in the last 5 years since COVID. People have really, because I think what happened is the to be sustainable as a sport, you got to be, when it gets so crowded, otherwise you're just fighting, right? And now it's so crowded that you have to have some law and order and some kindness. And so people you can't fight everybody. It's like swatting mosquitoes. So you just become kind and nice. And it's really, it's a drag because I don't get as many waves. It's kind of a dick move, right? But, it's kind of, you do like to get waves. But sometimes it's just as fun to see some young kid get his first wave, or, right? So I'm going on and on. But the crowd in the water right now is really pretty pleasant. This is Mount Shasta, one of my favorite places, as you know. 3-hour loop. This is it this morning. Raindrops. It's a great camera, isn't it? This is from Hammond Ranch. Somebody the other day asked me, where's this camera from? This is Alert, California, Hammond Ranch edition, facing east. And then you see the mountain just barely peeking through. I wanted to say, too, I'm kind of bumming on I use Clipchamp to edit these videos. This is Monterey Bay. I think those are otters. I think those are otters on the buoy. I use Clipchamp, and it kind of threw they did an upgrade, and my closed captioning went away, as well as my score. You can still scrub, but you can't read the chapters that are coming. You have to kind of go just visually what you see, which it works too, but I'm working on it. So just know that the closed captioning and the scrubbing chapter description went away, I think about 3 weeks ago. I just noticed it, and it will come back when I figure out how to get it. It's them. They have to get a patch or something that'll fix it up. So Monterey Bay today is going to be 65 degrees. And then this is Los Angeles, one of my favorite shots. And again, I just like, dude, if you're not active here, every time I see this, I want to go out and walk or run. And yet, and mark my words, we've never pulled this camera up where we didn't have people running. I mean, I'm sure it's a running path, but it seems to be a walkie path as well. But everybody looks good, man. Jeez. It's just, I don't know. It's such an awesome camera. It's just fun to watch people. Venice, right? I was watching. Okay, you guys, by the way, scrub through this if you don't want to hear any more of this. But I was watching, I get like this Samsung TV thing. And so it's got like its own, it's like a smart TV, which they all are. But it gets, what do you call it? Streaming TV. So I get like Baywatch streaming channel. I know. I was watching it the other day and just having a beer last night, and it's like, oh my God, I forgot it's racy, first of all. It's just like, and I didn't realize, I think they got pulled off the air because they became so kind of, soft porny or something. I mean, it's not that, but it's just like really, really interesting stuff. Please, I'm not going to rate my experience. Well, it was good. Excellent. Let's rate it, see what happens. Okay, there you go. All right, listen, have a great day. Thanks for bearing with me. Hope you have a good weekend. I probably won't be here tomorrow, but you see what the weather's doing. And remember to scrub ahead. Okay, you guys are awesome. See you later.